us, I'm sure, a big smile there, because I mean, the weekend didn't start out looking great, and then it's just come to you through the weekend. When you saw that incredibly committed move at the start, was it then his race to lose?
Max Verstappen just pulled off a championship-level move. Check this video out to see why it shocked the grid.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely managed to improve the car yesterday, and his start and that first corner was kind of win it or bin it. The commitment that he had, and Oscar was fair and gave him space, but you can see he's coming from a way back, and George is up the inside, but he just commits to the corner and was given enough space by Oscar, and that was the last they saw of him. So incredibly decisive, and he's just so good in those situations.
Are you surprised that Oscar didn't fight back a bit harder?
He's trying to defend a championship lead, and he knows how committed Max is, and he saw a gap, he went for it, and that's just the instinctive racer that Max keeps demonstrating week in, week out.
That opening move from Max is everything we've come to expect. Total control, total belief, and zero hesitation. The confidence to go win it or bin it at turn 1 isn't reckless when you've got Verstappen's track record. He trusted the grip, trusted his instincts, and executed with pinpoint accuracy. It was a turning point. By the end of that first corner, the race was already his to lose. This wasn't luck. It was elite-level decision-making in real time.
Yeah, because Piastri was caught sleeping there, because it was a copy a little bit of Jeddah, except that he didn't close the door. He left enough space because he was caught sleeping. So you come out looking very strong. Max, you, the unit, the engineer, because even when you don't have the right cards in your hand, you end up winning. You think that strength, that energy will be the downfall of McLaren this year?
Well, look, as a team, we're very strong. As a unit, we're very strong. There's always a lot of noise on the outside, but never on the inside. And the whole engineering team back in Milton Keynes have done a great job. We bought a few new bits here this weekend. That's why Enrico went to get the trophy today, for the hard work that's going on behind the scenes. The strategy were good. The pit stops were good. The guys were up until gone 2 o'clock last night repairing Yuki's car. So just as a unit, I think we've executed a really good race this weekend, and particularly on our 400th, it was a great way to celebrate that by getting this big win today.
This wasn't just about Max today. It was about a team that showed up in every department. From overnight repairs to on-point strategy, they didn't just race, they delivered. And Max, as always, took full advantage of it. You could feel how locked in this team was from the first lap. McLaren might have raw pace, but Verstappen's team is running like a perfectly tuned machine. That's what wins championships. Not just speed, but operational excellence.
Even after lap 1, Max's pace seemed really good, and you mentioned that on Friday he was overtaken by the McLarens. What do you think that turnaround from Friday and race pace to today, because he had really strong pace out front?
I think we managed to get the car into a window. I think the parts that we bought worked, and we managed to get a setup, and once you're in the window, then you can control your tire temperatures once you've got that clean air at the front. And there was at no point in the race where he looked really under threat. The restarts that at all points during the race, he looked to have pace in hand, and that first stint was so long on the medium. That was what was particularly impressive and reassuring, that we were able to have better deck than the McLarens in that first stint.
Friday's pace deficit felt concerning at the time, but by Sunday it was clear. Red Bull had a plan. Their updates delivered, and Max used that clean air like a weapon, never looked under threat. That long first stint on mediums, that wasn't just impressive, it was strategic dominance. It gave them flexibility, confidence, and total race control. This wasn't just about speed, it was about execution under pressure, and that's where Max thrives.
Let's talk about Yuki Tsunoda. Just how impressed have you been with him this weekend? Obviously, yesterday was a horrible crash. It was great to see him come out of that unscathed, but to then bring it back and put it in the points, and at one point play the ultimate team play by holding up a couple of drivers for Max as well. So, what did you say to him? Have you seen him yet?
I haven't seen him yet, but I thought he drove a very good race today. To get that point, was hard fought, coming from the pit lane. The strategy worked well for him. He drove a smart race. He was decisive in his moves, and it was a good payback for the mechanics. Today you can see, he very, very brave around, some of the fast corners here. Managed to get up the inside of Nico there, and that was his move into the points.
And you say that Oscar has a championship to worry about a little bit. Surely Max has got to be thinking about the championship. Results like this, results like Jeddah, at some point, surely you've got to think that you've got a chance at maybe going for the championship.
I think I've always said this championship's a marathon. I mean, we're race 7, we've managed to win 2 of them now. And it's all about where you are at the end of it. You've got to make sure you stay in touch through this phase, and we're finding form, and this is the start of a triple header now, completely different challenge next weekend, then a regulation change the weekend after. So the races start coming at you thick and fast now.
Yuki Tsunoda delivered one of the most underrated drives of the weekend, coming back from a crash and pit lane start to score points while actively defending for Max. Pure teamwork. His bravery through the fast corners and tactical awareness showed how much he's matured as a driver. Meanwhile, Max's steady grind through the early phase of the season is textbook championship pacing. The triple header will be brutal, but Verstappen looks like he's gearing up just in time.
Well, there's a talk about championship. We've seen that McLaren has focused on the Constructors' Championship a lot and damaging the chances of a Drivers' Championship. In your situation, you have Max fighting for championship, and the other car is a little bit further back in the points. So is the focus more the Drivers' Championship?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got our full focus is on the Drivers' Championship, and obviously both cars are scoring, and the more that Yuki works his way up the order, the bigger role he can play. I mean, you saw him play a small role today, working hard to keep Oscar behind him for a crucial lap or so. But for us, all focus is on that Drivers' Championship. We've got a very clear number 1 in our team, and that's where obviously the main focus is.
Are you surprised that McLaren didn't swap their drivers to launch a bit more of an attack on Max? What would you have done in their position?
It's very hard because when you've got 2 drivers racing each other, you just want to deal with it as even-handedly as you can, and to do that is then sort of favoring one driver over the other. So they allowed the drivers to race, and that's good to see and has to be commended.
This is exactly where Red Bull and Verstappen shine. Clarity of purpose. Max is the championship spearhead, and the entire team is structured to support that mission. While McLaren juggles equality and optics, Red Bull focuses on wins and points for their title contender. Even a brief defensive stint from Yuki becomes critical when the margins are razor thin. It's the kind of structured ruthlessness that builds champions, not just podiums.
But of course, sometimes that's perhaps against the interests of the team because the drivers have their own interest.
Before we let you go, just a quick word on Monaco. I mean, these races are coming in thick and fast. How will the car fare there, and will the tech regulation change in Spain that we're hearing about with the front wing, will that affect you in any way?
Well, look, I think Monaco, as we know, is a completely different challenge. We've got 2 mandatory pit stops in the race. I'm hearing there's a bit of weather around as well for the weekend, so that can always play a factor. And then, of course, Barcelona, we're not expecting any major shake-up, but for sure it will have an effect.
Okay, well, listen, well done today. Make the most of it. We're going racing again soon, but relax tonight. You thoroughly deserve it. 400th Grand Prix start and a win for the...
Monaco is always the wild card on the calendar, but when you throw in weather and mandatory pit stops, it stops being just a race and becomes pure strategy warfare. This is exactly the kind of scenario where Max Verstappen sets himself apart. He's not just fast, he's ruthlessly efficient under pressure, and that matters more than raw pace in Monte Carlo. We've seen him dominate in chaotic conditions before. Remember Brazil 2016 or even Monaco 2023? This is his domain. Red Bull's execution is so polished right now, they'll already be simulating every possible outcome. And with the tech regulations changing in Spain, particularly around front-wing deflection, some midfield teams might struggle to keep pace. But Red Bull's aero department in Milton Keynes is one of the most advanced in the sport. They're not just compliant, they're proactive. Max has already shown he can adapt quicker than most drivers when changes come mid-season. Winning their 400th race weekend shows not only longevity, but evolution, and that's how titles are won. Yuki stepping up also gives Max more strategic coverage, even if it's just for a few key laps. That's what a championship-winning environment looks like. No weak links, total focus. If Red Bull keeps this rhythm through the triple header, they won't just challenge, they'll control.